What's up? This is Greggatron. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. My weekend is incredible. This is a really good weekend. I'm going to talk about that in a different video. Basically, yesterday I just bought a bunch of swords from a friend of a friend. And I'm a happy camper. But that's not what this video is about. Real quick, I hope you like my shirt. Yeah. I don't think I wore this one in a while on camera. Yeah. Ain't worked out in a few days. Getting small on them. We can't have that. Alright, so this is a response video for Terri Strange. Shout out to Terri Strange. We love her. If we love anybody, we love Terri Strange. Alright, so a couple days ago she made a video about, well, it wasn't about this, but this was mentioned towards the end of the video. She does live streams, and towards the end of her stream, which I'll put in the description box, towards the end of the stream, I cannot talk, she started talking about polygamy. Somebody in the chat brought it up, and Terri was totally against polygamy. She was saying it's gross, basically it's disgusting, there's no morality behind it, it brings out the worst in human nature. She's like just bashing the idea, and she said, I'm not going to share my man with anybody, and all this stuff. And I'm just thinking, wait a minute, hold on. Let's talk about this. And me and a homie of mine, we talked about this a long time ago, back when we worked together. So it's like that whole conversation I had with him, it's all coming back. Because I might know some things that she doesn't know. So shout out to Terri. This one's for you. So I made a list of pros and cons, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the anything in between. Because it's such a good topic, I think we have to dissect this. I'm going to back up a little bit. This glare makes my glasses. See that? Yeah. Also, I need to start looking at the camera more because I have a bad habit of like looking away like this. But anyway, let's start with the cons. All right. Yeah. I got a list and everything for y'all. So the cons, the kids grow up confused. The kids will get teased in school if they're in school. The women might get jealous. All right. The dad can't spend time with everybody. I'll talk about that later. There might be some incest going on. The teen boys, when they get older, they might start messing around with some of the moms who are the moms of the other kids. And I'll talk about that later. That's possible. And then emotions could get involved and it could end in a train wreck. So those are some cons I wrote down. Now the pros, I have financial stability. All right. And I'll talk about taxes and that sort of thing later. There's always going to be an adult in the home. The moms will have different roles, whether it be the cook, buying groceries, finances, homeschooling, cleaning, quote unquote moral compass. They can work from home, that sort of thing. Big family equals security. That's food for thought. And the kids will have their dad. So let me talk about this. When I was at work years ago, my coworker, he was my boss at the time, he was into that stuff. He's like, polygamy is the way to go, man. It's not legal in the United States, but it's the way to go, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, man, if you don't shut your up, like, what's wrong with you? Polygamy? And he's like, yeah, man, that's where it's at. And I'm like, why? Like, he was really into this at the time. I'm like, why? And he's like, bro, think about it. You're with 5 wives. And I'm using the word 5 because in the chat, I think it was, I'm not going to say, I'll say his name. I think Frederick said in the chat he would have 5 wives or something like that. Somebody said Frederick's going to have 5 wives. So my buddy was basically saying, if there's 5 wives, that makes 6 adults. They basically put all their incomes together and essentially buy a mansion. All right. So that's the main thing, finances, from his point of view. He's looking at it as a financial deal, a financial thing. And when everybody's finances are well, everybody's doing well. So basically, if you're in a polygamous relationship, nobody's going to be broke. That's his thing. So that was the main thing on his part. And everybody, he said, basically does well because there's always some type of an adult in the household. Now, this whole argument can go back and forth so many times, it just doesn't even make sense. But I think it's very fascinating. Well, let me jump back on the cons real quick. So, or should I do the pros first? I kind of like the pros. Yeah, let me start with the pros. So let's talk about taxes and whatnot. So one thing Terri said was they're going to live off the government in many cases. And I thought that was interesting because I know that if you have a lot of kids, you get more taxes back, meaning you're not living off the government. So I hit her in the comment section like, no, I think you might be wrong about this. I have a friend, a female friend. She asked me years ago, Greg, when are you going to have kids? I'm like, I don't know. Why? She's like, because you need to hurry up and have some kids. If you have some kids, you'll get way more taxes back. And I'm like, I don't think I want to have kids just to have taxes, but thanks, friend. Shout out to my friend. She's funny. But, yeah, so imagine you're a husband with, I don't know, 5 wives or 10 wives, and each wife has 2 or 3 kids apiece. You got, 15 plus kids at the house. That's a lot of taxes. A lot of taxes you're getting back. So that's going to make it a lot easier for the household. And yes, the man's going to be working, all right? He's not just living off taxes. I don't want y'all to think that. And I don't support polygamy or I don't not support it. I'm not even on the fence about it. I don't really care either way. I just think it's fascinating. So I don't want y'all saying, look, Greg supports polygamy. Not really. So you got that. And again, all sides put their money together and deal with it that way. When everybody's money is put together, they can't lose. All right. And one of the moms can be the treasurer or the banker or the money keeper, whatever you want to call it. Because there are women out there who are really good with finances. Now, speaking of that, the moms have different roles. All right. So let's just use the number 5 again. Let's just say this guy is married to 5 women. Excuse me. One of them deals with the finances. All right. You can have one of them do the food. She's the cook / she gets the groceries. One of them could homeschool the kids. That's a big thing because I talked about the cons. And the cons, the kids are going to get teased for having a family like that. So you need one of the wives to be smart financially, and you need one wife to be smart educationally. And then somebody can clean. The one who does the food, she could probably help cleaning. One of them could be like the moral mom, like the mom who teaches them right from wrong. that sort of thing. And you can say, well, that's hypocritical because she's in a polygamous marriage. Well, she might not see it as being wrong. She might see it as a greater good for all the family. So you could have a mom doing that. And they don't have to have real jobs. They can work from home in many cases. So these are all, in my opinion, good things for the kids. Because I look at it, it's for the kids. It's for the children. Different moms have different roles. But definitely the financial thing is a big one. They have to keep the house running. And they don't all have to be at home. That was my other point. Let's say you have, 5 wives. Well, 2 of them can work. The other 3 can be at home doing those things I just mentioned. So as long as they communicate and they make it work, I don't see a problem with this. You know what I'm saying? On the cons end, on the other page I wrote, it could end in a train wreck, of course, but as long as everybody's on the same page as to who does what, I think it'll work. And I'm not even talking about the sex aspect and that sort of thing. I'm just talking about the roles. I do this, you do that, she does this, she does that. And they have to coexist. And shout out to Terri. She made it sound like the jealousy would be a factor, which that's very well possible. But from what I've seen and what I've heard, these women aren't like that. It's not like the Bad Girls Club I told her in the comment section. They all kind of understand the roles. So you're not going to get a bunch of cat fighting, hair pulling. Because you have to think, it doesn't benefit the kids if the adults are fighting with one another. So I don't want to throw the jealousy thing out the window completely, but jealousy wouldn't even be a issue. Because here's the thing about polygamy. This is what my buddy told me years ago. He said, it doesn't just start with you being married to a bunch of women. No, you have one wife. Down the line, the 2 of you talk about it, bringing in another woman in for financial reasons. Because let's just say the 2 of them made decent money, but not enough money, not a lot of money. So either he has a friend or she has a friend, or it's a mutual friend who they both know and trust. Trust is a big thing here. They basically plant a seed in this third woman's head, like they throw the idea around to her. And she'll be single with no kids. And she's just trying to make it in America too. She might be working, but she doesn't have it all together. Or she might. With that said is, they scoop her in as the third wheel. So she's basically there to help the 2 of them. Now, this only works if she gets along with the man and the woman. In many cases, I think she's already friends with this woman. So it's not like swingers. It's not like on some freaky stuff. Now, of course, they're going to get freaky at some point. They're all married. But they don't even have to have threesomes and foursomes and that sort of thing. It's not even like that. When he screws one wife, he screws one wife. When he does the other wife, he does the other wife. But it's not like this crazy orgy porno scene that people might be thinking. It's not even like that. So anyway, they bring her into the picture. She adds and she builds on what they already have. Okay. Years later, the same thing happens with another woman who would be the third woman. And basically they just keep branching out to different women who they believe would be on the same page as them. But there's like a whole process the woman has to go through in order to know she fits with that family. Because the dad, he's not just going to bring some random, quote unquote, plain Jane into their marriage. This woman has to have something going on. She has to have something going for her. She can't drag the family that's already established down. So she has to be somewhat put together. She has to have her head on straight, whether it be financially. She has to know how to cook. She has to know how to clean, or one of those things I mentioned earlier. She has to know how to deal with money. She has to know how to be a mother when the time comes. And she can help out with the other kids, even if she's not their mom. Basically, what my buddy was saying was every woman has to benefit the family in some way. Because if you're not benefiting, well, now you're just an anchor. You're just shackles on someone's ankles. You're the weakest link of the chain. And a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So that's why I say this topic is so fascinating, because you could just, this video right now could be a whole hour. That's how interesting it is. So they just bring different women in little by little. And there's a agreement. Now, it's illegal in the United States, but I believe in Africa they still do that. Anyway, on to the next pro. Big family equals security. And I think that's important because, again, the kids will always have their dad, whether he's at work or not. And when he is at work, they have all these extra moms who they can, quote unquote, lean on and learn from. You got a mom who can read to the kids. You got a mom who can take the kids to the park. You got a mom who can cook some good food. You got a mom who can, plan the parties. And see, when I look at the pros section, it sounds like a paradise. Like nothing can go wrong. But when I look at the cons, it's a total train wreck. That's what makes this so interesting, because it's split directly down the middle. So big family equals security, meaning the kids will be safe. And notice how I keep talking about the kids. In my opinion, it's more about the kids than it is the marriage itself. Because why are you doing all this? You're doing it so you can raise a good family. So the big family equals security, meaning everybody's going to have an eye on them. It's not like they have to worry about something happening to the kids outside of the house. They really don't even need to hang out with their friends outside of home, because they have like 10, 15, 20 siblings in the house. Like, as a kid, how fun would that be? As a kid. Now, obviously, different things could happen. But as a practical thing, if you live in a big house with a bunch of half siblings, that is kind of cool. Because it's like a family reunion every day. Now, could that get old? Could it get crowded? Absolutely. But if the dad is financially stable, if he plays all of his cards right, they can always buy a bigger home. He could own different properties, what have you. And then when those kids get older, when they're teenagers, obviously they can work, branch out, leave the nest, live in one of those properties that he might buy with all his tax money from those kids. I mean, this could end in a very good way. In some cases. All right. So you don't have to worry about your kids getting kidnapped or anything crazy happening to them in that aspect, because they're with their family. So if you hear some music, that's my laundry, my clothes washer is going off. So those are the pros. All right. Washing machine. I said clothes washer. But doesn't that sound decent? Before I continue, what do you think about that? All right. So the cons. So I said the kids will get teased in school. That's if they go to a public school. Because I know how kids are, and kids are mean, and kids are nasty. But again, you can counter that with the pros and just say, well, I'm going to marry this woman because she knows how to teach, because she knows how to homeschool. So as far as the kids getting teased in school, they don't even have to worry about that if they have a mom, one of the moms is able to teach. Then I mentioned the kids might be confused, which that's true. But how confused would they really be if that's all they know? See, this really sounds like I'm leaning towards polygamy. But if that's all the kids know, how confused would they really be if they don't know any different? All right, which that's interesting. The women can get jealous, and I talked about that earlier. I don't think the women would get jealous like that because they see it as a unit, as a family structure, like a business. These women would operate like it's a business. So it's not, and I mentioned this on Terry's comment section, it's not about love and all that stuff. It's about the business aspect behind it. Everybody has to benefit. The dad can't spend time with everybody. That's true. Because if he's at work or if he has different businesses, he won't be home a lot. Especially if he has to provide for 5 or 10 wives and, 15, 20 kids. I do want to mention one thing. Terry had mentioned a lot of these women will be pregnant like all the time, and that's going to be a lot on her, and it can be stressful because you're basically in some cases getting pregnant every year on the year, right? And who wants to do that, she's saying. Well, let me dissect that a little bit. If you're pregnant all the time, for one, not every wife has to get pregnant necessarily because different women have different roles. But for the ones who are pregnant, the other wives essentially can help her out with the babies. Even when they're not even born yet, they could be like a moral, basically like I don't want to say like a sister to her because technically they are wives. But again, this has to benefit the whole family. So the women who are not pregnant, they could help support emotionally, because women can be emotional, especially when pregnant. They can help the women who are pregnant emotionally, and help them with different things, food, the hormone thing, just because women understand other women due to the emotional thing, whereas men are less emotional. So women will at times get mad at men for saying, you don't understand my feelings. You just don't get it because you're a man and I'm a woman. Well, if you have 2 women or 3 women or 4 women together, they're going to become friends, and they are family at this point. So she has that pillar, I guess you could say, that she can lean on. Because for all she knows, some of those other women have been pregnant before, so they know what she's going through. So while the man's at work, she can now be getting emotional support by these other women, which is pretty interesting. This is deep. So as far as the women getting jealous, that's not going to happen. Not in a polygamous relationship. This isn't like you catch your man talking to some other girl on the phone or texting her or Snapchatting or anything like that. It's not like that. It's a totally different universe than what we're used to. The common average normie, that is. All right, so here's one of the cons, a big con. There can be some incest going on, right? So there's a bunch of kids, and they're all like half siblings. Well, when these kids grow up, not grow up, but when they hit puberty and all that, and especially if they're not in school, they don't learn about safe sex and all that stuff in school, which school kind of does it a disservice anyway. my point is, at some point, there's going to be some hormones going on. And if there's just so much activity going on in that house and y'all sharing rooms on top of that, there could very well be some incest going on. Because the kids might not even understand that it's wrong. They just might act off of impulse with each other, which that's what incest is. Sleeping with family members. But here's where it really gets jacked up. I wrote this one down. So what happens when the teen boys start screwing the other moms? So this is what's crazy. So let's say the dad now is a little older in his 40s and 50s. And again, he keeps bringing in more wives. Well, the more wives he brings in, the younger they're going to be compared to him. Now that he's older, if he keeps on bringing in wives who are the same age the other wives were when he started getting married to them, those wives are now like in their 20s. And the dad might be a little older. Well, now the kids, they're also older. The kids are, I don't know, 16, 15, whatever. So what happens when those kids start hitting on the newer moms, the young moms? And again, this could end very badly because here's the thing, and Terry might have mentioned this part. Now that the man is much older, he might not be able to give her, the S word, the mushroom tip, the way he was able to give it to the older moms because he's much older now and he ain't trying to take no pills. Well, now the younger moms could get that from the young boys, the young bucks, because they can't get it from the old bull. You feel me? So that's where, in my opinion, that could be the biggest con out of all the cons. So now, not only do you have a dad who could potentially get this 20-something-year-old pregnant, well now, and what if she was? What if she already has kids by the dad, and then she turns around and has kids with the other dad's sons? That's wild. That's wicked. Like, that's crazy. So those kids would be not only siblings, but they'd be cousins. Or no. Wait. Yeah. Think about that for a minute. The younger wives in their 20s are having kids with the teenage boys. That could very well happen. Especially if she's fertile, she's already had kids with the main husband. It's basically like a cesspool at that point, like a rat cage. You put two rats in a cage, male and female, they make babies, those babies make babies, those babies make babies. And then the different generations are also making babies with one another because a rat can become a adult within like 6 weeks, right? So nobody knows who is who. In that aspect, the rats, that is, everybody's just screwing everybody. Whereas I'm not saying that's going to happen in a polygamous relationship. I'm saying if you look at the worst of it, that could very well happen. Like, this could easily end in a train wreck. And if that happens, the emotions will get involved. You could get the law involved. Notice how when I talked about the probes, it was just so nice and fine and dandy, but if it's not done right, this could very well end in a train wreck. Very well. So, what do I think about it? Do I support polygamy? And I mentioned this in the comment section. One wife is enough for me. I'm not married, but if I was, I'm sure one would be more than enough, let alone 2 or 3 or 6 or 10 or whatever. Do I support it? It's not ideal, but I understand it. Like when I talked about the pros earlier, I understand the benefit to doing it. And I understand different families are different. I only support it if they make it work. If they can pull that off, that's great. I'm all for it. But there's a lot of different variables, like the con section. A lot could go bad. But I can't even say I don't support it for that reason, because a lot of quote-unquote normal families with fathers, mothers, and kids, a lot of those families go south anyway. They get jacked up anyway. The mom could try to take the kids. They could be in a divorce. The husband could cheat on the wife. The parents could be arguing. They could be fighting, throwing dishes at each other. Even nuclear families can be a mess. So I'm not trying to say you shouldn't be in a polygamous relationship because it's not normal. Well, normal families aren't normal either. But the question was, do I support it or do I not support it? I only support it if it works. But when it doesn't work, just understand it could very well be a train wreck. So I guess I'm more like 60-40 on this. I 60% support it. So I changed my mind. I'm going to lean a little bit more towards it now that I talked to you guys about it. Because it makes sense financially, helping the kids, raise the kids, homeschooling the kids, cooking, cleaning. You got your family together, big family. I think that outweighs all that other crap. Because that other crap like incest and all that, we don't even know if that's going to happen. And this is all hypothetical, right? I don't know anybody personally who's in a polygamous relationship. Now, my homie who I talked to about this years ago, he never went through with that stuff. He just thought it was fascinating. So I knew this was going to be a good video. I want to know what you guys think. Shout out to you for being here for 30 minutes. That's cool. Cool. But have a good weekend. Peace.